a military camp outside Istanbul, May 3, 1481. The most feared man on earth is dying, and nobody in the camp will say it out loud. He had conquered Constantinople at 21. He had shattered an empire that had stood for 1,000 years. 14 separate attempts to kill him had failed. Every poison, every blade, every plot, all of them failed. But on this morning, his body is shutting down. His personal physician stands at the entrance of the tent. He is not praying, he is not weeping, he is waiting. He is waiting within hours. Sultan Mehmed II, Mehmed the Conqueror, will be dead, and three of the most powerful forces in the world will have a reason to celebrate. But here is the question that historians buried for 5 centuries and that Venetian archives accidentally answered. Was this the one assassination that actually worked? Before the death, before the poison and the politics, there was a boy in Edirne, born in 1432. Mehmed was not supposed to be sultan. He was the third son of Murad II. In Ottoman succession, that meant he was mostly irrelevant, a backup, a spare heir, kept alive out of tradition. But his older brothers died, and suddenly, the spare became the only option. His father brought in the finest scholars in the Islamic world to educate him. By age 12, Mehmed spoke 4 languages. By 16, he was reading Greek philosophy in the original text. His tutors describe a boy who didn't just memorize, he argued, challenged, pushed back. He became sultan at 18, lost the throne, got it back at 19. At 21, he pointed his army at the walls of Constantinople and said, "This ends now." It did. In 1453, the city fell. The Eastern Roman Empire, which had existed for 1,058 years, collapsed in a single afternoon. Imagine you're a ruler in Europe. Watching this happen, you are the Pope in Rome, the Doge in Venice, the King in Naples. You have just watched a 21-year-old Ottoman Sultan do what every emperor before him failed to do. For 1,000 years, you are not impressed. You are terrified, because he didn't stop. After Constantinople, he took Serbia, he took Bosnia, he took Trebizond, Crimea, Albania. He pushed into Italy. His forces landed at Otranto in 1480, less than a year before his death. The stakes were now explicit. If Mehmed continued, and he had never once stopped, Rome itself was the next logical target. Every Christian throne in Europe understood this. And they had been trying to stop him for 25 years, not with armies. Armies had failed, with poison. The Republic of Venice kept records of everything, meticulous, obsessive records, trade ledgers, diplomatic correspondence, and the minutes of a secretive governing body called the Council of Ten, established in 1310. As Venice's internal security apparatus, their official motto recorded in their own documents: "Let the poison do the work of the executioner. It is less brutal and more useful." This was not a metaphor. This was operational doctrine. Between 1415 and 1525, the Council of Ten authorized at least 25 confirmed assassination operations. Against foreign rulers, researchers have found the ledgers, the contracts, the names of the hired operatives, the payment records, the follow-up evaluations. When missions failed, Mehmed the Conqueror appeared in those records, beginning in 1456. 3 years after he took Constantinople, Venice was already paying men to kill him. The first was an Albanian barber named Paul, sent to infiltrate the Sultan's inner circle. Through a barber shop near the palace, Paul disappeared. No record of success. No record of what happened to him. Then a sailor from the coastal city of Trogia, poison-based, failed. Then a Jewish physician named Vlaco, chosen specifically because he could get close to a sick man without raising suspicion, failed. A Florentine merchant named Francesco Baroncello failed. A man from Krakow, a Catalan adventurer, an unnamed operative, whose description in the ledger is simply the one who looked like a Turk. All of them failed. The poisons themselves were not amateur work. The Council of Ten sourced compounds from the University of Padova, the most advanced chemistry institution in 15th century Europe. Arsenic, mercury, composite, slow-release toxins designed to mimic natural illness. The smell of those laboratories, sulfur and burnt copper, pressed into every shipment that left for Ottoman territory. Mehmed seemed untouchable, but Venice was not the only power that wanted him dead, because by the spring of 1481, 2 forces much closer to Mehmed had their own reasons to act. One sat in his palace, one sat on a throne in Cairo, and both had access to something no Venetian operative had ever managed to reach, the man who mixed the Sultan's medicine. Mehmed had two choices in his final campaign: turn toward Egypt and crush the Mamluk Sultanate, or sail west and take Rome. He chose to move. He always chose to move, and that decision forced the hands of everyone watching him. Before we continue, if this story is pulling you in, hit subscribe. It helps us keep making content like this. Now, back to the man holding the medicine. His name was Yaqub Pasha. Born in the Italian city of Gaeta, converted to Islam, entered Ottoman court service under Murad II by the time Mehmed the Conqueror rose to power. Yaqub Pasha, also known to his Italian contacts as Maestro Jacopo, had been the Sultan's personal physician for 30 years. He had survived every purge, every court reshuffle, every moment of palace paranoia that consumed men who had served far shorter terms. Mehmed trusted him completely. Yaqub Pasha was not just a doctor, he was one of the handful of men who could enter the Sultan's private chambers without announcement. In 1472, the Council of Ten sent him a letter. The offer was precise, not vague, not open-ended. 10,000 gold ducats, paid immediately. In advance, 25,000 gold ducats, paid upon confirmed death. The window was specific: March to May of 1472. Deliver the result inside this period. Use the medicine, make it look natural. The Sultan is already ill. The gout gives you cover. There is no record that Yaqub Pasha responded to this specific letter, but there is a record that he was still alive in 140-81, still serving, still trusted, and that on May 3rd of that year, the Sultan died under his care. The Ottoman soldiers in the camp didn't wait for an official investigation. Mehmed's death was announced with suspicious speed. The body, according to multiple sources, began showing signs of advanced decomposition almost immediately, within hours, not days, which some historians interpret as consistent with certain arsenic-based compounds of the period. The soldiers turned on the physicians. Yaqub Pasha was killed. In the chaos that followed, not executed officially, killed in the disorder, the kind of killing that happens when an army loses its commander and someone needs to absorb the anger, or the kind of killing that happens when someone knows too much. But Venice was not the only hypothesis that survived the archives. Inside the palace, a quieter war had been running for years. Mehmed had two adult sons, Bayezid and Jem, both ambitious, both watching their aging father with the focused attention of men who understood exactly what was at stake. The Ottoman throne had no formal succession law. It was winner take all, and losers died. Mehmed had not named a successor. Worse, there were whispers that he was considering dividing the empire, giving Jem control of the western territories, giving Bayezid the east. To Bayezid, this was not a compromise. It was a death sentence, delivered slowly. Bayezid had his own physician, a man named Asam Lari. The allegation, documented in later Ottoman historical analysis, is that Asam Lari did not poison Mehmed directly. He did something more subtle. He managed the Sultan's existing illness, incorrectly withheld a treatment, increased a dosage, took a man who was already weakened by gout and chronic joint pain, and quietly ensured that the body's own deterioration accelerated past the point of recovery. Mehmed died. Bayezid rode to the capital with his army. He took the throne within days, and 4 years later, Asam Lari was dead. The official cause was never clearly recorded. Some sources suggest a deliberate overdose. Some suggest a private execution disguised as natural causes. Bayezid, the man who allegedly used him, was now the man who needed him, silent. One physician died in the chaos of a military camp. Another died 4 years later in circumstances nobody recorded carefully. Both deaths happened to eliminate the only two men who could have confirmed what was in the Sultan's medicine. The day Mehmed's death was announced, celebrations broke out across Europe. In Rome, Pope Sixtus IV ordered church bells rung across the city. In Venice, the Doge reportedly wept, not with grief. The city had been at war with Mehmed for decades. They had lost Cyprus, lost trading routes, lost men, and now the man who had personally cost them more than any enemy in their history was gone. They did not ask how. Bayezid II took power immediately. He was careful, methodical, not his father's son in temperament. Mehmed had been fire, conquest, perpetual forward motion. Bayezid was consolidation. He wanted stability. He recalled the Ottoman forces from Otranto within months of taking power. The Italian campaign, the one that had put Rome within reach, was simply abandoned. No explanation given, the soldiers came home. The threat dissolved. Europe exhaled. And here is the fact that reframes everything. The military campaign Mehmed was leading, when he died, was never officially named. The destination was never formally announced. Ottoman historians writing closest to the period are divided. Some say Egypt, targeting the Mamluks and the wealth of the Nile. Others say Italy, the final push toward Rome. This ambiguity was not accidental. Mehmed kept his strategic intentions deliberately vague, even from his own commanders, to prevent exactly this kind of intervention. He had survived 14 assassination attempts by being unpredictable. Even the direction he was marching was a state secret, which means that whoever killed him had access not only to his medicine, but to his plans. That narrows the circle considerably. A Venetian operative working from outside the camp could poison the water supply, could bribe a servant, but could not know with certainty that this specific campaign was the threat that demanded action right now. Only someone inside the inner circle, someone who received updates on the Sultan's military thinking, would have understood that 1481 was the year that couldn't be allowed to continue. Bayezid knew the campaign's destination. He had been watching his father's movements closely for years. The Mamluk Sultan Kate Bey, who had been monitoring Ottoman military buildup through his own intelligence network, knew enough to fear that Egypt was the target. Both had motive, both had proximity, both had something to lose that no European power could fully calculate, not just territory, but survival. Kate Bey's involvement, it must be said, is the least documented of the three theories. The connection runs through Asamlari, the claim being that Mamluk agents reached him first before Bayezid, or simultaneously. The evidence is thin, but the Mamluk sultans were not unfamiliar with this kind of operation. They had survived by being ruthless about threats, before those threats materialized, and Mehmed the Conqueror, still moving, still planning, still conquering, at 49 was the most credible existential threat the Mamluk Sultanate had faced since the Mongols. Here is the layer of this story that almost no one reaches. In 2005, a team of Italian researchers working with the Venetian State Archives published a detailed analysis of the Council of Ten's operational records from the 1470s and 1480s. What they found confirmed something historians had suspected, but never been able to prove with documentation. The 1472 offer to Yaqub Pasha was not a one-time approach. The council sent follow-up correspondence, updated offers, renewed contacts through intermediaries. The relationship between Venice's intelligence apparatus and Mehmed's personal physician was not a single letter that went unanswered. It was an ongoing documented negotiation spanning almost a decade. Yaqub Pasha never formally accepted, but he never formally refused either. In the language of intelligence operations, that sustained ambiguity is not innocence. It is a form of access maintenance, a way of keeping a door open without walking through it until the moment the door needs to be used. The Council of Ten understood this. They were patient. The ledger entries for Yaqub Pasha stop in 140 AD, exactly 1 year before Mehmed's death. What that silence means depends on which historian you ask. Some say the council abandoned the operation after too many failed years. Others say the silence is precisely what a successful handoff looks like. When an asset is activated, you stop writing things down. There is one more piece: Mehmed's body. According to multiple contemporary accounts, Ottoman court records, Venetian diplomatic dispatches, and a detailed account written by a Greek chronicler named Critoboulos, who had served in the Ottoman court, Mehmed's body deteriorated at an unusual rate. Critoboulos, who had direct access to court information, noted that the decomposition was visible within hours of death. 15th century medical knowledge didn't have the vocabulary to identify this correctly. But modern forensic toxicologists, who have reviewed the documented symptoms, the rapid onset, the timing, relative to the campaign start, the accelerated decomposition, identify them as consistent with arsenic trioxide poisoning in a sustained low-dose protocol. Arsenic trioxide, the signature compound of the University of Padova's forensic chemistry department. The same compound used in at least 3 of the 12 documented Venetian assassination attempts that preceded 1481. None of this proves Yaqub Pasha acted on behalf of Venice. None of it eliminates Bayezid. None of it rules out Kate Bey. But it establishes something the official Ottoman narrative never acknowledged. The most powerful sultan in the world died in a military camp, with the symptoms of a man who had been slowly, deliberately poisoned, and every person with both the motive and the physical access to do it, had a reason to ensure that no investigation ever happened. Bayezid controlled the empire that would conduct any investigation. Venice controlled the archives that documented the operation. Kate Bey survived the threat and never had to face what Mehmed was marching toward. The perfect crime is not the one where no one had motive. It is the one where everyone did, and none of them needed the others to succeed. We started with a man dying in a tent. You may have come into this expecting a clear answer. A named killer, a confirmed poison. A moment where history delivers the verdict it owes, it doesn't. What the evidence actually gives us is something more uncomfortable. 3 credible actors, each with independent motive, each with partial access, and a dead man, whose body was interred before anyone with authority to ask questions could ask them. Bayezid secured the throne and immediately abandoned the campaign. His father was leading. Within a year, the Ottoman military posture had fundamentally shifted from expansion to consolidation. Yaqub Pasha was killed. In the disorder following the death, Asim Lari was dead 4 years later. The Venetian archives contain a decade of contact with the Sultan's physician and go silent 1 year before the Sultan dies. None of this is coincidence. Not all of it can be coincidence. But here is the deeper question. This story forces, how does the most protected man in the world, a man who survived 14 documented assassination attempts over 25 years, die in the one moment, when 3 separate powers each had independent reasons to act? The answer may be the simplest one in this entire story. He became too dangerous to everyone at the same time. Venice feared Rome. Bayezid feared Jem. Kate Bey feared the Nile. And Mehmed, still moving, still planning, still refusing to stop, had the rare and lethal quality of making every enemy feel like they were already out of time. When everyone moves at once, the crime becomes invisible. There is no single hand to trace. There is only the result. Mehmed the Conqueror died at 49. He had redrawn the map of the known world, and the forces that killed him, if they killed him, did not stop history. They merely redirected it. But Mehmed wasn't the last Ottoman sultan to die under suspicious circumstances. 40 years after this tent, another sultan would die mid-campaign, and this time, the list of suspects would be shorter. The evidence would be cleaner, and the man who ordered it would be his own son. That story is more deliberate than this one.